When I first started investing in real estate, it was always about apartments. And then I started to dabble a little bit into hotels. And now I've kind of been looking at self storage a little bit. But recently, my interests were piqued when I came across mobile home park investing. That's right, investing in a trailer park. But being from Louisiana, I'm used to mobile homes. Actually, don't say anything, but my wife was born in a mobile home park. She uh, doesn't probably anybody to know that. But when I heard our guest today, Mr. Chris Rood, talk about it and mobile home parks and what he's doing in this space, it completely opened my eyes and blew my mind to the potential out there. So, Chris, welcome. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you, man. Well, if it makes you feel any better and your wife feel any better, I was born into a mobile home too.
So you're about 3 hours, 3.5 hours south of me down in Lafayette, Louisiana. And for those out there that don't really know much about you or what you do, tell us a little bit how you got started in real estate.
Man, that's kind of a long story. I'll give you the 50,000 foot view. I've always been entrepreneurial. Never was really good at school, very hard headed, but had a lot of energy, and I could, I could talk. Right, I always had a knack for selling. Hell, in fourth and fifth grade, I was selling basketball and baseball cards out of the back of my book sack in fourth and fifth grade. So I always wanted to get into sales business. But when I was 22 years old, and this all ties in together real estate, so just bear with me. When I was 22 years old, I started a business out of the back of my truck while I was in college at UL studying business management. I was working with my dad in the oil field at the time. He asked me to get the oil changed in one of his trucks, fleet trucks, and I went there. It was a quick lube, but it was taking a long time. So it was be a 10-minute oil change. It was taking 30 minutes. People complained. I was like, aha, there's a need right there. I said, I bet you if I go on site and start going to people's houses and changing their oil or at their work, that'd be a good little service I could do as a business. So never, had no intention of becoming a professional quick lube or anything like that. But one thing led to another. I ended up blowing that business up into a pretty big business. By the time I graduated college, I had two trucks on the road, two trailers, and I was making $120,000 a year as a senior in college. So I just kept doing that. Right.
Wow.
This is 2006. 2005, I graduated college. 2006 came along. I scaled the business. I was making probably $250,000 at 23 years old. And then 2007 was coming along right before the crash, right? I had just built a spec home maybe 4 years ago. At 20 years old, I built a spec home. And I noticed the value had went up. And, this is A&E Flip My House was just coming out. All these Flip My House shows are coming out. And I told my wife, I said, baby, all that these houses are increasing value so much. Why don't we just sell our house? So we painted a couple of walls, landscape, put it for sale. A month later, I sold it and made $126,000 at 20. I was 24 years old at the time. It was a lot of money for a 24-year-old, right? That's my first experience with real estate. Made that money. I took that money and I put it into a physical location, quick lube, mechanic shop, car wash style building, because I knew I couldn't scale that on-site business. So did that, doubled my income. I was like, okay, we're on to something. I'm gonna keep doing that. We bought a piece of land. We thought we were going to build a piece of a house on it. Ended up flipping that, made 40 grand, took that, rolled that into another down payment on another shop, then bought a foreclosure, fixed that up, sold that 18 months later, we made about 70 grand on that deal. I used that to buy another shop. I ended up scaling to 4 physical locations. Got so busy with that, I had to get out of real estate because I got so busy. I had 33 employees, 4 locations. Did that for about 5-6 years. And then 2010, 11, I got back into real estate. I bought a bunch of single family homes. I wanted to get back into real estate, because I was kind of starting to get burnt out with the day-to-day of dealing with employees and general public and working on cars. So bought a bunch of single family homes off of MLS, making 10, 20, 30 offers a week. Didn't know how to go direct to seller and do the wholesale method yet. So I bought marginal deals, 90, 95 cents in the dollar, 80, 85 cents. Bought about $3 million worth of those single family homes. And then 2014 came, right? The significance of 2014 in South Louisiana, oil went from $128 a barrel to $28 a barrel. We lost tens of thousands of high-paying jobs. The majority of the houses I bought were nice brick-on-slab single-family homes that I was charging $1,500, to $2,000 a month in rent. I got slaughtered. Half of them were vacant. Then all my shops started losing revenue because it was all oil field related. Most of the vehicles we were servicing were all oil field related. All the oil field companies were going bankrupt or they were moving back to Texas. So I was like, shit, man, I'm a shit creek without a paddle here. So I was like, real estate got me where I'm at. Let me get back into real estate. So I started YouTubing, how to wholesale real estate. Or I started YouTubing, something popped up, wholesale real estate, and basically how to go to direct to seller and find off market properties. Started doing that. I started making a ton of money doing that. I started making, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80,000 a month doing that. So I was able to cover, I was about to go bankrupt. I was able to cover my losses with all my shops and all the single family homes. And I was able to slowly sell off all those assets. Well, did really good with that, with the wholesaling, got rid of all my properties, most of my shops, and then went to a mastermind. But this is probably 6 years ago. I'm sure you heard of a guy named Grant Cardone. Went to his very first mastermind he put on, and ended up buying the best tickets. Got hooked up with him and sat right next to him and all the speakers. But the most expensive tickets, me and my wife, was $20,000, and got hooked up with him and went to his office and started telling him how I was wholesaling real estate. And he's like, man, that's pretty freaking cool, dude. He goes, I'm doing apartments, but a lot of the people that follow me can't do apartments because they don't have the wherewithal, the money, the know-how, yada, yada, yada. He's like, let's do something and show my audience how to do that. So I started showing people how to wholesale real estate. Then this all ties into mobile home parks. That's why it's all long-winded. You got to know the whole story to understand my track record, how I evolved, how I learned, all the mistakes. So I lost a bunch of money when I sold off all those single family homes. That was a huge learning lesson for me because I overpaid for those single family homes, for one. And two, not everybody can afford a $1,500 to $2,000 a month, rental property, right? And I noticed all my buddies that had a little bit lower end properties that were renting for like $700 to $1,000, they didn't get as hammered as hard as I did when the economy pulled back in 2014. So after I got hooked up with Grant, started putting out a lot of content about wholesaling, and then I started building up some cash, and I wanted to get back into buy and hold, but I didn't know where to go. I didn't want to do apartments because I felt like it was over my head, one. And then I didn't want to get back into single family homes. So I was like, what can I get into? I started doing more research. Ended up going getting a haircut one day, and it had it was a Fortune 500 magazine, one of those magazines. I see a picture of Warren Buffett, and he says, mobile home park investing, wave of the future, something of that sort. Like, that's interesting. I read it, and I just started hit all the key points. Baby boomers all retiring, they're downsizing, getting into affordable communities. The debt to income ratio is not keeping up with inflation. Our income's not keeping up with inflation. So people are not going to be buying brick on slab houses like our grandfathers and great grandparents and our parents. People are going to look for more affordable alternatives for the future. The student debt crisis was starting to begin at that time, 4.5 years ago. People were seeing all this. I think it was maybe 1.1 trillion at the time. Now I think it's up to $2 trillion in student debt that can't be paid off. So he hit all these points, and I was like, man, that makes a lot of sense. And I said, I think I'm going to start looking to invest in mobile home parks, because a lot of the leads that would come through my pipeline when I was marketing for single family homes through my wholesaling business, a lot of mobile homes would come through to want to be sold, but to be moved. They wanted to sell their trailers to be moved. I had no use for it, right? And I told myself, I made note of that. I said, I bet you once I buy the mobile home park, I could just, because they were giving them away. I was literally picking them for $2,000 and less, $5,000. And these are nice trailers, some $5,000, $10,000. And they're really nice. I was like, I can just buy these trailers and fill them up, infield the mobile home park that I'm buying. So
it costs $2,000 to move it.
I'd buy them for $2,000, but it does cost $2,000 to $3,000 to move it. Yes.
Okay.
But I was buying trailers. I even bought a trailer for $500. That wasn't even bad shape. I mean, it was ridiculous. I mean, so that was kind of, I started adding effort, putting it all together and seeing how cheap I could buy these trailers, and they weren't really that bad, right? And it heard the stigma: trailer park trash, they fall apart, yada yada yada. And I after doing it for so long, I realized that like these trailers hold up pretty good. They're just like a house, except they don't sit on a slab, right? But they sit on a metal frame, a chassis that's solid steel. Right. They got framing, they got floors, they got subfloors, they got cabinets, they got insulation, they got a roof. They got just like anything else. So I bought my first mobile home park, a 24 unit. I ended up running into a guy, a realtor in town that I see working out. He's like, man, Rood, I know you do real estate, and I have this mobile home park. I don't know what to do with it. I don't know anybody that buys this. So I said, man, I'll take a look at it. And I had just read that article, like coincidentally, like 2 weeks ago. So I was like, perfect. I'm going to look at it. It was getting $7,200 a month in rent. He wanted like 450. I got him down to 405. I ended up buying it. That was the first park I bought about 4.5 years ago. And it had 7, 8 empty spots. And like I said, I knew that I could fill them all up with all the leads that I was coming through. So I bought it. I started buying trailers. And on top of that, the rents, the old man that was renting it, he never went up on the rents. He had people in there paying $350 and $450 for rent. And average market rent was $750, you know? So I was like, I could raise the rents. I could haul trailers in there for cheap. So I did all that. By the time I was finished with that park, you know, a couple of years later, I did it really slow. I mean, that park does $17,000 a month now, right? And I paid 405 for it. What does that in real estate? Nothing. There's nothing. I've done. I own apartments. I'm in one of my short-term vacation rentals right now on the beach in Destin. Although I like short-term vacation rentals, they still don't pull off the numbers that a mobile home park pulls off our mobile homes. But Chris, the trailer park trash, they fall apart. Bullshit. They don't fall apart no more or no less than a 30-year-old single family home that hasn't been renovated or a 30-year-old apartment that hasn't been renovated. That's a fallacy. Now, the banks don't like to lend on the value of the older trailers. That is the downside. But from a pure cash on cash perspective of cash flow numbers, there is nothing that even comes close. I mean, I'm buying nice trailers I bought a 2016 trailer out of Dillon Springs about 4 weeks ago. It was 4 years old. It needed nothing. She paid $62,000 for it. I bought it for 15 grand. I hauled it to one of my parks for 3 grand. I set it up for another 3 grand with closing costs, another 1,000. I'm all in $22,000. I'm getting $1,100 a month in rent for that trailer. And it's pretty much brand new. They got a couple stains in the carpet. So I do that every other week. I buy a trailer like that and I just infill them into the parks I buy. Right. So that's kind of my evolution of where I started as an entrepreneur, bought single family homes, learned about how to go direct to seller to find off market properties through wholesaling. Had some hiccups with the economy crashing, had to sell off my portfolio and start over. Got into mobile home parks via the article I read from Warren Buffett. And now I'm scaling, man. We own 14 parks. As a matter of fact, I have a closing tomorrow. I'm in Destin right now. We're closing in Pensacola tomorrow at 11. I got out there with one of my students. We're closing on a 25 unit we picked up for $880. It's getting $17,500 a month in rent right now. There's nothing in Pensacola that's less than $850 and $900. All his rents are at $650, $700. We're going to take that from $17,500 to $21,500 within probably the next 3 to 6 months.
Wow.
So the numbers just when you start getting it and doing mobile. Now, let me be clear. I do like to own the trailers. I don't do lot rent. I like to own the mobile homes. So it's a little bit different model. A lot of people say, don't ever own the trailers, just do lot rent. I'm the guy that doesn't like lot rent. I like to own the trailers because just call it what it is. Most investors are lazy. They don't want to deal with the toilets. They don't want to deal with the rehabs, but that's where the money is where nobody wants to do the work. And I have a system, I have a process. We know how to gut these things to the stud. Literally, I can gut a whole trailer to the studs and redo it with a metal roof for 15 grand. And I won't have to touch that trailer for another 20 years, probably, besides basic, a leaky faucet, maybe changing out a panel in a cabinet because it got wet. But we go back we harden the trailers. We put luxury vinyl planks, metal roof. We put these wood accent walls. We don't go with sheetrock. We put wood paneling. It looks like the wood right here. This is paneling. It looks just like that's a luxury vinyl planks, but it looks just like that. But it's paneling that you put on the wall, and it makes these. You walk into the trailer, it looks awesome. You would never even think you're in a mobile home, and it hardens the trailer, right? So we've learned what to put, what not to put. We don't put carpet. We don't put the cheap linoleum rollout. We go back with all luxury vinyl planks. It's hard plastic. It's lifetime, waterproof, everything. So that's kind of where we sit. So I got a model. It works, and we're scaling, and we're trying to raise money. We're trying to find more deals. I mean, I started a coaching company around what I do, and what I've done is taken my students and partnered with them around the country, and that's how I've scaled the model all over the country. We have a closing, tomorrow in Pensacola. I have another closing the following week in Sulphur, Louisiana, that I picked up with a student. I have another closing the following week after that in Tampa. and they're all freaking off market grand slam deals. Just to show you some of the numbers. The one in Sulphur I'm closing on next week. I paid 1.45 million. It's a 28 unit. It's right next to the Sasol plant. I don't know if you know where Lake Charles Sulphur area is. It's got all those refineries, and they're getting ridiculous rent. The park's getting $33,000 a month in rent, and I paid 1.45.
The biggest bass I've ever caught was in Sulphur, Louisiana.
Come on.
Actually, Edgerly, a little bit north of there, but
yeah.
Sulphur.
Yeah.
That's some serious numbers.
They are serious numbers. Now, look, are you going to deal with a little bit more cumbersome tenant? Sure. They're a little bit, they have a little bit more problems and they have a little more issues. But listen, I'd rather be in an asset class where I got more customers than I know what to do with, because we all know if you pay attention, if you got any kind of brains, we're at the top of the market cycle. Things are overinflated. Apartments are overinflated. Blackstone, BlackRock, Grant Cardone buying apartments at a 2.5, 3 cap. It's scary times we live in. We can't play that game, right? And I don't want to play in that game. I want to play in a game that I can't lose. And if I'm buying a mobile home for $5-10 grand that I'm getting, $800 to $1,000 for, please tell me how I can lose that game.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. Most people that are either watching this or listening to this, they have a 9 to 5. They're dealing with the public. They're treating patients. They know that they're going to have to deal with issues, problem patients or problem customers. So that goes with anything. So you have apartments, you have self-storage, you have mobile home parks.
With doctor, this is what I found. Like, I get this all the time with Chris. Isn't it like a really lower end tenant? Not necessarily. I've had just as worse tenants with houses that I rent for $2 grand a month.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're in the rental game, I mean, you're gonna have problems. Now you go to high-end areas like Miami, San Francisco, and you're getting $3,500 to $5,500 a month in rent. You're probably gonna get a little bit more sophisticated high-end of a tenant, but most of us can't play that game. But at the end of the day, renters are going to be renters. So if you're in an asset class where you're paying a 3 to 5 cap, but your tenants are not that much different in an asset class that you're getting, a 10 to 16 cap unstabilized. And I got some parks that are 22 cap stabilized.
Wow.
Who cares, right? But Chris, they don't look as pretty and they're not as sexy and they don't smell as good as an apartment. I don't care. Like I played that game where in the beginning in my 20s, in the early 30s, I bought a bunch of single family homes, nice single family homes, thinking I don't want to be a slumlord. I want to have nice stuff. Listen, tenants are going to beat it up regardless if it's nice, smells good. It does. They're renters, right? Yep. So, and another tertiary principle that I've learned is that a lot of people are investing for appreciation right now. They're hoping that they can buy an apartment. And I know a lot of guys own apartments. A lot of them aren't making money. They're buying and holding and hoping they can resell it in 2 to 4 years and flip it. So they're not even in the rental game. They're in the flipping game because they don't really cash flow hardly anything. You have one AC that goes out or a roof or something, or plumbing issue, that the margins are so tight that there's no money, right? The money is in reselling to these big hedge funds or to a less sophisticated buyer who's willing to pay more just to dump money. I want cash flow now. And there's nothing better.
Do you have like a specific criteria, like when you go look at a park or whatever? Kind of walk us through what you look at. Are these more mom and pop, or are they?
That's exactly what I'm looking for. Mom and pop baby boomers that have owned it for 10 to 30 years. I mean, a park I bought from a guy he owned for 35 years. First park I had, he owned for 35 years, I believe. We're looking for mom and pop baby boomers. Then we're looking for uncaptured appreciated rents. A lot of these baby boomers, they never go up on the rent. Like clockwork, most of these guys that we're buying these, especially the older gentlemen we buy in these parks, they're like $200 and $300 below market rent, right? Which is great for us. And there's a huge opportunity right now in real estate because a lot of these baby boomers, they're the biggest landowners and landlords in the whole country. They never went up on the rent. And on top of that, we've had this massive inflation of rents the past year. So there's a huge spread to be captured right now. And I'm capturing every bit of it. I mean, every park we're buying, we're going up on the rent. No, I'm not kidding. We're going up on rent $200 and $300 in some cases. And we're getting it.
How does that look like as far as depreciation? Does that work similar to?
It's the same thing. It's no different than apartments. It's all the same. do cost segregation, all that stuff. It's all the same stuff.
So if you have somebody out there right now that, you know, wants to get into real estate, they're new to real estate investing, they've been hearing about it, they have a 9 to 5, where does that person start? What's the first step?
It depends on where they're at, where their head's at. Do they want to be an active investor, or they want to be a passive investor? I mean, I got people that are 9 to 5ers that, you know, they still want to be active, and they hire me just to show them what I'm doing, and they go find their own deals, and they put property management in. And I got a lot of guys that invests in my deals, right? We raise a lot of private money. If you want to invest in one of my deals, the way we do that is so basically there's three pieces to it, or sometimes there's 4, but let's just keep it simple. You know, you got the person that sponsors the loan, which is me. You got the person that finds the deal that gets a portion of the equity, and you got the equity, the down payment, right? So usually I give 30% equity to the down payment guy. If say you're a doctor, attorney, maybe you got a couple $1 million liquid that's making less than 1% in the bank. I'll find a park that's $2 million. I got to put 30% down. Let's just say it's 500 grand down. You give me the 500, we give you 30% equity in the deal. As long as your money's in the deal, you're going to get 30% of the cash flow. If we sell it, you get 30% of the net profits. And then we try to refinance within 2 to 5 years. And then once we refinance and make you whole, give you back all your money, you drop down to 20% in perpetuity, and you're in the deal for no money. And that's how we structure all our deals. It's basic syndication.
And what's the typical hold time for that deal?
Man, I haven't sold any of my parks. I am selling a park next month. This will be the first park I've sold in 5 years, but it's a small park. It's 8 units and it's old. And it's stabilized. You know, they would make a little bit of money on it. So, but I don't want to hold nothing less than, 25, 30 units.
Okay.
But I mean, typically, I'm 41. So it's like, it's hard for me to look like, oh, I want to exit here. I mean, man, at the rate it's going and the way these cash flow numbers are going and the way inflation is going, I have no desire to sell, right? What I'm going to do, hold a bunch of cash and let it get eaten away. I mean, when I can get a mobile home park that just prints money, right? I got these mobile home parks that just print money. So I would think, the model, and I have thought about it. Don't get me wrong. I have thought. So the model for me is I like to buy a shit park in a great area. I can't replace the real estate it sits under, but I can replace the trailers. So we find rundown trailers in really good areas, and we change out the trailers. And you change out some of these trailers, they'll last 30, 40 years. Like the trailer I was born into in Lafayette, Louisiana, is still being rented out today. It's a 1975 and it's been remodeled, I think, probably 3 times. It's still being rented today for $750. They paid I think $8,500 for that trailer back in 1975, but it's still being rented. So the old saying that trailer parks fall apart, that trailer park trash it's folklore. It's not true.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like the song, was it the Sammy Kershaw song, Queen of My Double Wide Trailer? So
that's right.
Do you do any type of other type of investments besides mobile home parks?
So I love short-term vacation rentals, because I have a strategic advantage doing that, because I have a pretty big following on social media and online. I have about 100,000 followers, and I put on events 4 times a year. So I buy short-term vacation rental, like the one I'm at now here in Destin, Florida, on the beach, and I put on events and I show people, what I'm doing, and that's my headquarters, so to speak. I call it the war room, because the name of my mastermind is Allies Mastermind. I have no friends. I only have allies, right? Friends give me hangovers. Allies help me make money. I'm looking for more allies. So we created this mastermind, and we do them at our short-term vacation rentals. And we do them in the first and last quarter in the off season, because this house rents like crazy in the summertime. So we have that strategic advantage where we can make a ton of money off the mastermind tickets, plus scale our business through showing people what we're doing. And then in the summertime, it stays full. So that's a strategic advantage I have. So most people don't have that strategic advantage. So I wouldn't recommend just go and buy a short-term vacation rental unless you can get a really good deal on it. The way to do that is go direct to seller, right? We own 6 short-term vacation rentals. We've done really well, but it's all about buying right. It's about buying a unique property in a unique area that can't be duplicated or copied. It's got some type of uniqueness to it. And that's kind of the secret to, short-term vacation rentals. Maybe it's got a view that can't be matched, or maybe it's got a wraparound porch like the house I live in. This house is the only house that has a huge wraparound porch around the whole house. It's a Southern style house. So it has a beach view. So it has a unique advantage, right? And plus I bought it 4.5 years ago, and it's doubled in value. So it's all timing, right? Real estate is cyclical. It's all cycles. We're at the top of the market cycle, so you got to be ultra careful. If I can't steal it, I ain't buying it, doctor. That's my motto. If I can't steal it, I ain't buying it. I've almost been bankrupt twice. I know the pain of what it feels like to get my teeth knocked in, almost go bankrupt. So I'm ultra careful, not because I'm smarter, but because I'm wiser through hard times and experience that's made me wise, right?
So what are some of the things that y'all discuss or I guess mastermind on at your mastermind? What are some of the topics, or what do y'all do?
So I bring experts in from every different aspect of real estate. Like I got a guy that's an expert at new build storage. He's coming. I've got, I'm going to be talking about mobile home parks. My wife's going to be talking about short-term vacation rentals. I got a guy that's one of the biggest wholesalers in the country. He does $600,000-700,000 a month in revenue. He's going to be coming. I got a guy that's one of the biggest flippers in the country. He's been flipping houses for 23 years. He makes a lot of money doing it. I got a guy that does mergers and acquisitions. Mm-hmm. He buys and sells and flips businesses, and he's going to be come and talk. I got a guy that all he does is flip apartments. He just buys and flips apartments. His average, flip, he makes $300,000 to $500,000 a flip. And he'll make millions. He's done 7 figures on some flips. And that's all he does. I got branding coaches to show you how to brand and market yourself on social media to get yourself more known, to build a brand. I've got just different talent, right? Talent in real estate and business. And that's what we do. I got a guy that's he helps you write a book, right? To brand yourself. He's going to come talk. I'm trying to think who else I got that I could, that I'm missing. But just, you get the idea. It's just experts that are good at stuff that I'm not necessarily the best at. Gotcha. And they come and they tell you everything they're doing.
Awesome. Well, and I hear that you and your wife have a podcast that's getting ready to launch.
We have a podcast. It's going to probably launch in a couple of weeks, called Beyond the Skills. It's all about life, business, children, marriage, sex, the whole 9 yards. It's going to be the good, bad, ugly about it ain't just going to be about real estate, right? I want it to be different, and everybody's got a real estate podcast, our business podcast. This is more of, a life podcast. Going to be interviewing a lot of cool people, and we're obviously talking a lot about real estate and business, but it's going to be more what's the hacks and tricks to life, right? So we're going to be doing that, and that's going to be dropping in a couple of weeks.
So people want to know more about you, what you do. Where are some of the places they can go?
I would go and follow me on Facebook and Instagram. Facebook at Chris Rood, and then I have a business page, Chris Rood Entrepreneur. I do Facebook Lives all the time. I do content, a lot of real estate and business content all the time. Instagram, you can follow me at Real Estate Rood. You can go to LinkedIn at Chris Rood.
That's ROOD, correct?
CHRIS, Chris Rood, ROOD. Go to my website, chrisrood.com. You can book a call with me and my team if you're interested in coaching, or you just inbox me if you're interested in maybe coming to a mastermind. Dude, that's how I got where I've gotten. I hired a bunch of coaches. I'd go to these masterminds. I mean, you just get all the best information, right? Yeah. You just don't know what you don't know.
Yeah, and I know you have several kids. I've got 2 kids, and I'm telling them now, they're teenagers, like, look, you try to get as much information as you can right now from your parents or whatever, because when you get older, like me and you're going to pay a lot of money for it. So get what you can for free, right?
That's 100% correct. That's exactly right.
Well, I'll make sure I put all the links for all the different places to follow you below the video.
Yeah. Also, if you want to read, I have a book I wrote called The Source of the Deal. You can get a free copy of it. Just go to thesourceofthedeal.com. And it's all about my story. It talks about everything I kind of talked about here earlier, but more in detail, and why going direct to seller and finding your own deals and becoming the source of the deal is is the key to becoming a professional, successful real estate investor. The deals are all off market, guys. You got to go direct to seller, spend a little bit of money, and I'll show you how to do all that. And I talk about, my journey of how I started trying to get into real estate. Didn't do that, overpaid for properties, almost in bankrupt, recalculated, relearned, then started going direct to seller. And now we freaking slay the game, right?
Awesome. Well, I know you're busy. You're enjoying yourself in Florida. I won't keep you any longer, but I really appreciate you spending time. And I'll make sure I put all the links below this video for you.
Awesome, man. I appreciate you.